Hey folks, welcome. Here we discuss real stories by real people. Today we have the story of a man who finds out his wife has been cheating on him with his cousin. Let's see how it goes. Story 1. My ex-wife 25 and I 28 first met at a fundraising party my cousin had organized for his company. Before then, my cousin had told me there was a lady he wanted to introduce me to. My cousin mentioned that she would be a good fit for me. I doubted it, but my cousin believed strongly that she was the one for me. When he finally informed me of the fundraising, I went there, mostly because I was curious enough to want to know what the perfect lady looks like. When I met her at the fundraising party, she turned out to be the perfect lady he had described. She was 5'3" with flawless skin and dazzling skin, and she seemed courteous, calm, and composed. My cousin introduced me to her, and we hit right off. We had a lot of things in common: hatred for large gatherings, a glass-half-empty perspective, detested pop culture movies, and multiple partners. My cousin was delighted, and he urged me to take the friendship further. After a couple of weeks that included date nights, hangouts, and sleepovers, I asked her to be my girl, and she agreed. In less than a year, we were married at a local church with both of our families in attendance. After my marriage, my cousin started coming over frequently. I noticed that the friendship between him and my wife was as strong as ever, maybe even stronger than how it was the first time I knew her. It was like they had an inseparable bond, and he was her closest friend. I had my doubts, but I figured my cousin was doing his best to make her comfortable and also get her to warm up to the rest of the family members. My cousin was a good guy, and it could be scandalous for me to suggest something could ever happen. Also, I didn't want to bring up suspicions when it was barely a year since we were married. So I resigned my thoughts to suspension. 6 months ago, I returned home to loud noises. I identified the voice to be my wife's and her sister's. They were having a heated argument that had escalated into shouts and finger-pointing. Not wanting to interfere, I went into the bedroom. From there, I listened to what they were saying. The next thing I heard was her sister asking why she's sleeping with her husband and my cousin, even though she's married. I was baffled. I listened with anxiety, expecting my wife to deny it and call her sister a jerk for accusing her of doing something unspeakable. My wife, however, retorted with a half-crying, half-shouting voice that she couldn't help herself, and she had tried all she could to stop having feelings for my cousin. It wasn't her fault that she loved him and couldn't stop loving him. She also noted that the affair with her sister's husband was a one-time fling that wouldn't happen again. I ran to the sitting room and listened as she said some more crazy things. I joined the confrontation, and together with her sister, we accused her of being a wicked, pathetic infidel. To my utmost surprise, my wife told me and her sister to go to hell. I threatened to divorce her if she didn't stop her infidelity. She responded that she was already going to be with my cousin and I could do anything I wanted to. She went further and informed me that my cousin was already planning to marry after she divorced me. And soon she would finally be in the arms of the one for her soulmate. Every single word she said pierced through my heart. The next few weeks progressed with the divorce papers being processed. When it was finally ready, she signed the papers and left without a single word to me. I was devastated and broken. I had felt betrayed, swindled because we had to share properties as the law demanded, and hurt. It was the two people who were closest to me the most that stabbed me in the back. The world was dark for me. Then yesterday, my ex called me and informed me that we should get back together, and she thinks therapy would be helpful. I told her where she could stick it up. I want nothing to do with her. I later learned that my cousin had dumped her after he found out that she was still sleeping with her sister's husband. Now he wants nothing to do with her, and neither do I. That's why she wants to come crawling back. I'm so sorry this happened to you, OP. You did not only lose your wife, but you also lost a close family member and friend. I would still say you dodged a bullet with your ex-wife. Living together with that kind of person sounds like torture. Divorcing her or her divorcing you was a huge favor to you, even though you had to part with half of your property. She and your cousin deserve each other. I'm glad to know that she cheated on him too. She was brazen enough to ask you to get back together with her. I'm sure she was hoping you would be in the same position she left you, but that's not the case. You've moved on, and you would continue to move on and live a good life without her and your cousin. Hopefully, you find a much better and much more loyal partner to spend the rest of your life with. Story 2. Long story short, I've found evidence that my wife is having an affair. I've had a gut feeling for a while that something wasn't right, and there have been a few red flags that I've picked up on. This weekend, I found evidence that she's considered or has already engaged in an affair. There's no incontrovertible proof, but I doubt I'm going to find any given the situation. Backstory. Starting in February-March of last year, we both got distant from one another. Both of us work in demanding careers with long hours, and work was busy for both of us. I started to withdraw into myself due to the lack of physical intimacy from her. It was already a borderline dead bedroom situation at this point, and stopped meeting her emotional needs. I'm not entirely blameless here, and I accept that. 2016 was a pretty shit year for our relationship. In late December, we had a come-to-Jesus talk. She was considering divorce due to her needs not being met. I love you, but I'm not in love with you, etc. And I agreed I would work on fixing myself as a precursor to working on the relationship. Started getting shit done around the house, going out of my way to meet her needs, hitting the gym, visiting a counselor. She acknowledged all these changes as very positive and was very proud of me for making them. My life has done a complete 180, but she's still dragging her feet on being active in the marriage. This weekend, I snooped and found some things that are pretty hard to deal with. Based on browsing history, in March of last year, she began looking for apps that would allow someone to message in secret. A few months after that, she began browsing pages on sexting. Many articles for this. I've never been the recipient of a sext from her. I also found evidence of searches for apps and ways to hide photos on an iPhone. All of these searches usually coincided with Google or Facebook searches for a particular guy. Several articles for spicing up the bedroom, sex moves, sexual health at a time we weren't having intercourse. Also, there are searches for articles on Ashley Madison and other affair-related articles. In addition, this guy's married with 2 children. Found multiple searches for their school and school hours, not sure what that's about. In addition, I found evidence that she was out at a restaurant when she specifically texted and said she was stuck at work and would be home late. I don't think I'm ever going to find definitive proof, as I suspect that all communication is happening over apps that don't leave a paper trail. I suspect it probably began in March last year as a way for her to seek emotional fulfillment she wasn't getting from me, and blossomed into a full-blown emotional affair and probably physical affair as well. I had already previously brought up my concerns regarding this guy in late January after I found a bunch of Facebook searches for him, searching 2 or 3 times a week for 6 months. She said it was just a crush. Yeah, right. She got really angry with me for violating her privacy, deleted all her browser history and Facebook history, changed the password on her phone, stopped wearing her wedding rings for a couple days, and then came back and said she wanted to work on our relationship and felt hopeful for our future. Things had been better until this past weekend, where she seems checked out again with regards to the marriage. I checked her browsing habits, and she's been looking this guy up on Facebook again every day for the last 4 days. Last thing before she went to bed last night, and first thing after waking up today. We have our first couples counseling session in a week. I don't know if I can sit on this info until then. I really thought we could give things a shot again and it would work out, but it seems like she's more than happy having her needs met elsewhere. I don't know that trust could ever be rebuilt. I'm willing to wait until counseling, but another part of me just wants to have this over and done with. The problem is that I have a super busy work week and a business trip this upcoming weekend for 4 days, and I just don't have time to deal with the fallout of a divorce this week. Need advice, support, hugs, criticism, whatever you want to throw my way. OP, you've been trying to fix your marriage because you know that you have your faults. But what about your wife? What about her faults? She is having or is on her way to having an affair with a man. I understand that your marriage might not be working at the moment, but she should work with you on trying to fix it or end it. You two are going for counseling. You've talked to her about the guy, and yet she's still looking him up first thing in the morning and last thing before she goes to bed. That's a red flag. She needs to be sure about what she wants. If she wants to work on the marriage with you, then she has to leave the guy. But if she can't, then she should tell you so you two can work on getting that divorce. Speak to her one last time and find out what she wants. If she's not certain about what she wants, then you have your answer. Now for some comments. Hey man, sorry that you're here with us. Here's an internet hug to you. I can say that in my own experience, if you've got shit to do for the next week, keep sitting on the info you have. Once that cat is out of the bag, it's going to demand most of your attention. On the positive side, you've already proven to yourself that you can make tough choices, work on yourself, and become better. You can do this. Her choices, not yours, have killed the marriage. This is no fault of yours. Please keep that in mind. It may get tough to believe it over the next few weeks, but that's not your fault. Usually, gut instincts are correct. You've been programmed to trust your wife, so by the time that you don't, it's usually because that trust has been completely violated. Two very important questions, assuming that she has had an affair or that it is ongoing. Does she genuinely want to fix the marriage? Do you want to reconcile? Unless the answer is a strong yes from the both of you, then you should just go ahead and file for divorce as soon as you can. The hard part is that many wayward spouses want the marriage to continue, but they're unwilling to admit to the extent of their faults and to fix them. First things first, go ahead and cancel the couples counseling appointment. Waste of money and time going with a spouse who's active in an affair. File for divorce without telling her and expose to others, including OM's spouse. This will be the only way this marriage can be saved. She needs to seek counseling for herself and go no contact with the guy and give you a full timeline. If she's not willing, and it sounds like she isn't, continue with divorce and don't look back. But yeah, seriously cancel that counseling appointment. It's useless for your situation. Implement the 180 and detach. You need to show her you'll be okay without her. Don't cry or beg. It will only make the situation worse. Repeat this to yourself. My wife has a boyfriend. Yeah, is that really a relationship you want to be in?